a fan of the Dragon Ball Super card game? If so, check out QueenCityGaming.com for sealed product, singles, and more. Just use promo code MafubaJar-10 to save 10% off your order every time.
Welcome back to Mafuba Jar. We've been sealed away for another awesome deck profile. And today, guys, I'm going to be showing you the Mouse Saiyan deck, specifically the one I ran at the Orlando Dragon Ball Super Regionals. Now, quick little thing I want to say, most of the credit for this actually has to go to my friend Andrew, who you saw in the videos of my recap of the regional weekend and stuff like that. Because he's actually been the one who's been perfecting Mouse Saiyan for quite some time before this tournament, and while our decks weren't exactly the same card for card, they were very, very similar. I think I only changed maybe a couple cards from his list, but yeah, overall, and this was something that I used to play back in the day too, so when he was showing me this, testing with it, it just felt like a wave just came crashing at me, like, wow, I just remember all this suddenly. It's like, this is a really scary leader if you really think about it, because especially for those of you guys out there who love aggro, as far as leaders go, it does not get much more aggro than a Mouse Saiyan. So let's go ahead and take a look at him. His activating main is once per turn you place the top 3 cards of your deck in the drop area. If you place the black card in the drop area, it gains critical for the duration of the turn. And if you also place any other color there, it gains 5k boost. So black card and any other card, your leader becomes a 15k critical, which can even keep up with your opponent's leader if it's awakened. Not to mention, critical is very scary. Now, this actually came out in the set 3 starter decks along with the red Goku GT starter deck. So this is about the time when this came out. And its awakened is when you have set 4, you draw 2 instead of untapping. For a deck like this, I personally wish this would untap instead, but the drawing has got me out of some pretty bad situations. Let's go ahead and take a look at his awakened side. And yes, this is the top loader that you get for entering the region, which is so cool. So this side is Bardock, Unbound by Darkness, and his activating main on the awakened side is the exact same thing. If you mill 3, if it's black, it's critical. If it's any other color, it's also a 5k boost. And he gets the when you attack, draw a card thing. So same stuff with that and all. And one thing to note, when you're about to awaken and you mill, you don't get to keep the critical when you awaken, but you do keep the 5k boost. So you mill on this side, you get the 5k boost. Awaken to draw 2, he's still at 20 because you still keep the boost. And then when you mill again, if you get a black and a red, or any other card, whichever one you choose to run, he becomes a 25k critical. That's insanely powerful for a leader. So that's extremely difficult to combo out of. And that's even before you combo with anything. So it could definitely give people a run for the money. So even though it's a draw 2, you do have to be a little bit careful when you decide to do this. It's much more preferred to do it on your turn. So, yeah. I'd say as of right now, he is our most powerful black leader. That could very well change in set 5, but he could also become much more stronger in set 5 as well, which is coming out in the very, very near future. I think in like a week or 2 at the time of recording. So definitely be doing an updated list of that in the future, but I just want to show you guys what I ran for the regionals. Alright, going to be running 4 copies of what's probably one of the most powerful cards in the deck, Intensifying Power Trunks. Because with this deck, we're all about crit and aggro. And you got it for this, when you attack, you take a card from your life, and he gains 10k and critical. So, critical, guys. This is literally critical the deck. Almost everything we do here is critical, just because we want to hit him hard, and we don't want him to have a big hand. So yeah, this could be the one that we mainly take out, but there's going to be times where we need a double strike, so we have Kappa in there for that as well. Definitely comes in handy late game. I don't recommend playing him early game. If you get stuck with him early game, energy. Honestly, just use him for energy. Because double strike's nice, but you don't want to give him cards at the same time. And we're going to bring 3 copies of Cronoa. Now, this is usually a side deck dark card, but with this kind of deck, there's literally no reason not to run Cronoa on your main. Because black leader, black card, basically a Majin Buu, and you get to draw, basically Majin Buu to draw a card, and your opponent can't Shugesh anything down, which, even though it's not run that much, still a good card to have. Again, in this particular deck, there's literally no reason not to run this card. Yeah, in general, another really powerful thing about this leader right here is that this deck based around him, he's essentially an anti-yellow deck. So if you're afraid of a lot of Frieza out there, this is definitely the deck to run, because this just mops the floor with yellow decks. Guarantee you, like, especially the Frieza ones, like, this will just stomp Frieza decks. And again, here, probably another of one of the most powerful cards in the deck, along with Trunks, is going to be Planet M2. Now, you don't get the auto here, because the auto is when this card's placed in the battle area. If the leader card is Dr. Mew, draw a card. You don't get that part. But we don't care about that part. We just care about the activate battle. You switch the card to rest mode. If it's your turn, you choose up to your opponent's leader cards or their battle cards. They lose 5k for the duration of the battle. So, this is like one of the only cards out there that can reduce your opponent's leader's power. Especially against Hercule, because play this card and you reduce him down to 0. Which makes it very difficult for them to combo out. Because even though Hercule likes to combo to draw cards, they have to still combo a lot just to get out of the critical with this. Not to mention, when something hits 0 power, battle card wise, it's knocked out. So this definitely deals with any small blockers or any sort of 1-drops that they could use to combo from the battle area. Just knocks them out immediately, so that's less cards they have to combo with. Again, just a really powerful card overall. Not even just with Hercule, just any leader, because that's 5,000 more that they have to waste from their hand to combo out of. And speaking of combos, just gonna be showing the super combo here next. Supreme Kai Time World's Protector. I'll most likely be replacing this one with, not replacing, I'm gonna at least test out the other super combos that we're getting from set 5 to see if those work better. But I don't know, I still think this one's pretty good. But I'm still gonna test them out to see if they really can be better or not. So this one works that, this one doesn't really care what your leader is, but it's just known as the black super combo card. You just have to have 5 or more cards in your warp, then this card gains 10,000 and it's combo, you draw a card. Again, technically the leader doesn't matter, you could run this in like any leader deck technically. But yeah, as I said, it's just best for black. And another important combo card in our deck. We have Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. You could also run Champa if you want, there's literally no difference. So, when you combo with this card, one of your attacking cards, it gains double strike for the duration of the battle, which is huge. This is what we want to combo with our crit attacks. So for a double strike critical, make them drop 2 life of theirs to the drop is just deadly. Matter of fact, I remember back when the game was first starting, just one of those could cost someone the game. It was just that deadly. It's still very deadly now. So yeah, the ones we want to give this to are, of course, our leader with critical, intensifying power Trunks, and we do have some other critical cards in here as well. Just anything with critical, we want to always compare this with, combo with, I mean. You can technically run Champa and this to be like 8 of these in general, but I personally feel that would just get way too cloggy, way too fast. Like, I never had a problem drawing into these when I needed them, so for me, this works out fine. And of course, we do run some defense as well. Gonna be running 3 copies of Bodyguard Legic, which suits our deck perfectly because we hardly ever have anything in the battle area that stays there. Since we're milling a lot, we're abusing the Overrun engine quite a bit. And its permanent is that if your opponent has a battle card and you do not, you get to play this guy for free. So definitely really good defense there. And again, the majority of our battle cards are Overrun. Now let's go into some of our good battle cards that are not Overrun. This one's going to be Burst Attack Sun Gohan. Now this is an amazing card. It has critical, which goes with the theme of our deck. And when this card attacks, if you have 4 or less cards in your hand, you draw 2 cards, which you will be drawing quite often with this one. Because the thing with Mass Saiyan, with how aggro it is, your hand's not exactly going to be big. Which actually came in handy when I was facing against that Gotenks player at Regionals. So, but in general, yeah, that's probably the only downside to this, is that your hand size is never going to be gigantic. But the Gohan kind of helps fix that problem. Not to mention, adds a 15k crit into the mix as well. So that's really, really awesome there. Alright. Another really important card here. It's going to be 3 copies of Foreseeing Hit. Now, Double Strike. We don't normally like that, but Hit's an exception. Because of his auto, when you play him, you choose up to 2 battle cards with 35,000 or less power from their hand and send them numb to the warp. And at the end of your opponent's next turn, they get to return it all back. So you send 2 cards of theirs, 2 battle cards of theirs from their hand to the warp. So that's why, even though he's double strike, and we don't normally like to hit him with double strike, hits the one exception. He is the exception. Just because, like, even though they're not going to be negating cards if they go through with a double strike, they're not going to be plussing much either. It's just replacing what they had before. So it's not that big a deal. Just really, really good overall. And definitely the best for endgame too. Alright, now let's get into some of our Overrun cards here. Alright, first up here we have 3 copies of Relentless Destruction Mirror. I honestly almost played him at, I almost would want to play him at 4. Just because of how good it is, but there's a lot of Overrun cards that you want to be playing as quickly as possible too. So that's why I kept them at 3. His auto is when you play this card using Overrun, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places it in the drop area. So a perfect thing to do is on your first turn, if you're going first, and you have this mirror in your hand, middle of 3 anyway, even though you're not going to attack, Overrun with mirror and make them pitch a card. So that way when so on their first turn, them going second, they only have 6 cards after they draw instead of 7, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it can definitely be brutal. And how would you feel if you haven't even taken your turn yet and you already have to pitch a card? Like, it's just crazy. Alright, next up here, I have 2 copies of Mirror from the Darkness. He's another Overrun. This one's an Overrun 3, this one's an Overrun 4. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. But the auto is when you play him using Overrun, he gains critical for a duration of a turn. So he's literally just a free crit on the field. But as much as I love having free crits, I love this free crit even more. Desperate Onslaught Mass Saiyan. Even though he's a 4-drop, he's an Overrun of 5. And he has critical no matter what, which is very important for what I'll show you guys in a little bit. And his auto is when his card attacks during a turn you played it with Overrun, your opponent may not combo with battle cards in their battle area or activate blocker for the duration of the battle. Which, that is insane. So, let's say they have a low hand, but they have a pretty set up battle area with blockers, even those with barrier. Just play this and everything on that battle area is useless. So they literally just have to negate or combo from their hand to deal with this guy. And this right here is probably the best one to use Hidden Power E Supreme Kai, because they have less cards that they can combo with and they can't block out of it. It's perfectly fine to use it with the mirror as well, since their power is the same. But if your opponent has an established battle area, this is the card to go. Like, this card right here is just too good. I have gotten out so many just from good to completely game-winning situations because of this guy right here. Like, just awesome. Alright. Next up here, I've got 2 copies of Trunks Power Overseeing Time. Now, this is a really powerful card, don't get me wrong, but I personally found myself siding this out almost every game. And it's not that it wasn't bad or anything, it's just that, I don't know, like, personally it was only because that, like, anything I would have needed to get out of the warp area, I already had another copy of it in my hand. So, I guess I just didn't really, there was really no urgency for him, but he's definitely an amazing one because he could get back your super combos, your E Supreme Kais for more double strikes. You can get back any battle cards that you might need for next turn. And he's overall at 4, but you have to tap 2 energy to play him, which isn't bad. So he does that, and he has double strike 20k on top of that. So, again, he's not a bad card by any means, and I did play him like once or twice during the tournament. It's just in my particular situations, his usefulness hardly ever came up. It's only because like I said, it's only because I had everything I needed already. But he's definitely a great card nonetheless if you need to recycle stuff. Alright, and now for the few cards up here, I run 1 copy of Dimensional Banisher Few, and 2 Scientist Few, of course. Overrun 7 to tap 1, double strike, draw 2 cards. So he's pretty much a staple in any deck now. Run 1 copy of him, because he's double strike, and you could also send one of your opponent's cards to the warp. So it's pretty much spot removal if you needed. I don't run the Mass Sand that does that, because blockers are very big right now. Like, I know he's a really good card. I'm not saying that he isn't. It's just that, like, in this format, we have so many blockers, like, just so many. And even though in like the most important cards that you would want to get rid of have barrier, so the Mass Sand doesn't really do much for that anyways. This at least gets rid of any cost card, but the Mass Sand's limited to 5. So that's my honest reasoning for not having the Mass Sand card in here. If you want to run the Mass Sand in there, go right ahead. It's a great card. It's just, I personally saw way too much blockers and things with barrier for it to be useful, because the Mass Sand can't hit blockers. So that was my reasoning for that. Alright, now for our extra cards, I run 1 copy of Dark Plot. This card actually came in handy so much, and running to 1 didn't really hurt me. Like, I saw it exactly when I needed to see it. So what Dark Plot does is that you choose up to 1 battle card in your warp with an energy cost of 4 or less, and you play it. If you use this skill to play a card with Overrun, you get to restand 3 of your energies. So your best targets for this is going to be the Desperate Onslaught Bardock and the Trunks Power Overseeing Time, because this card has critical no matter what, and same with the Trunks having Double Strike no matter what. The critical and Double Strike have nothing to do with whether or not they were played with Overrun or not, unlike the Mirror from the Darkness, to where you have to play it with Overrun to get the critical. These two will just have their skills no matter what. Only thing is with the Bardock is that, and Trunks, is that you can't activate their autos. The autos won't go through because the autos you have to Overrun for them. And Dark Plot does not counter an Overrun, so you don't get their autos, but you still get a 20k critical for essentially 1 energy, and a 20k double strike for just 1 energy. So it's really, really good. Honestly, that's when the Trunks would come in handy for me more than anything, is when I get to play with Dark Plot. And like, it really catches your opponent off guard, so you tap forward, you make it think, oh well, they're going for a big play, like a hit or something. Nope, just Dark Plot, bring out something big, and restand 3. So that's really awesome, because especially with a deck like this, you want to be as conservative with your energy as possible. Like, always leave yourself at least 1 energy untapped every turn. Alright. And for our Negates, I ran 4 copies of Time's Judgment. Now, it's the current black Negate we have. We're getting another one in set 5, which I'll most likely be replacing Time's Judgment with it, because as a Negate, I don't really like Time's Judgment very much, if I'm being fully honest with you guys. But it's the best we've got for right now. So it's a 1-drop Negate, and you get to pitch 2 cards from your hand, then you get to add this card back to your hand. So at least it could recycle itself a bit. I also run 2 copies of Heroic Duo Videl. So 1-drop red Negate, and she just stays there. Really good for combo power when you need it as well. I don't run Vados in here because Vados, there's nothing wrong with Vados. Only thing with Vados is that you will hardly ever have any battle cards to restand, since almost everything is played with Overrun. So very rarely was there any situations to where I would be able to take any advantage of Vados whatsoever. And for my final card, of course, it's going to be the 1 Ultimate Demigrite here. So Ultimate Dark Overrun of 7, and what that means, you have to war send at least 7. There has to be at least 7 black cards in your drop area, and you have to send everything to the warp. You pay 5 for it. Triple Strike, which is scary. And the auto is when this card attacks, your opponent reveals their hand. Choose up to 4 battle cards from it, and combo with them in your combo area. So you don't have to pay anything to combo cards through this way. So if they have like an Unbreakables in their hand, or just anything else that costs 1 to combo with, you do not need to pay the cost for this. But as far as super combos go, unless it can apply to you, you don't get the effect of super combos. Like say a Piccolo, for example. Your leader's not blue, so you don't get the combo advantage off of that. But you can still combo with it. It just isn't going to do anything for you, but it's just going to take it out of your opponent's hand, which can be just as deadly. There was actually 2 games that I got to bring this guy out and win. So really, really good, but just be careful not to get too drunk on this guy, because that's what happened to me in the Gotenks matchup. I could have won that thing, because I won with the Demigra, but I tried going for Demigra again when he had a hand, and I just got too drunk off of it, so be careful with this card, guys. It is very intoxicating, and you are gonna want to play it, but just don't. If you have it, great. If you're in the milling it or something, it's no big deal. Alright, so that does it for my Mass Saiyan deck profile. As I said, nearly all the credit has to go to Andrew for this one. Just because he was the one that was perfecting Mass Saiyan, and he helped me get back into the swing of things as well. So, If you guys enjoyed this deck profile, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And with that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and you have been released.